Whether you're headed to the beach, a tropical island, a resort, going on a camping trip, or just kicking it in your hometown this summer, there's always a chance that something horrifying could be waiting for you or happen to you once you reach your destination. And this summer, we're gonna be exploring all of those themes and elements in our horror summer reading list. So welcome to Books and Brews. You don't have to be a big reader to be here. Whether you came looking for your next favorite book or you're just curious about all the stories that everyone's talking about, you're in the right place. So grab your drink, get comfy, grab your sunscreen, and let's dive in. Also on this channel, we need a drink to be able to get us through what we'll be reading this summer, or our brew, if you will. And today is a little summer twist on the ranch water. I actually like to call this a cherry water. It's essentially a ranch water just with cherry sparkling water. So tequila, cherry sparkling water. It's the San Pellegrino, I think that's how you say it, and some ice. That's so good and refreshing. So if you're wanting a little twist on a summer drink, go ahead and try a cherry ranch water. So I do want to note that I did get these book recommendations from Topher's library, so I will link his video down below if you want to see that. And I picked 6 books from his list because I was thoroughly intrigued. Plus I needed some book recommendations. But let's get into what these books are about, what to expect, and my thoughts before reading these books. I am gonna use my laptop here because I'm not gonna act like I know the book summary off the top of my head. So that's what I'll be doing with my laptop, and if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing, okay? Okay, let's get into the first book on this list. So let's start with the book that is known for being one of the best novels to come out of the horror genre explosion in the 70s and 80s. And it's often described as one of the best horror Southern Gothic novels of the century. And this will be the book Elementals by Michael McDowell. So this book takes place on the beaches of Southern Alabama. After a strange family funeral, 2 wealthy Southern families retreat to their isolated summer homes on the Alabama Gulf Coast. There are only 3 nearly identical Victorian houses that stand on an empty, lonely stretch of beach, but one of these 3 homes have been abandoned for a very long time and is slowly disappearing underneath an ever-growing dune of bright white sand. Although the house is uninhabited, it is not empty. The family avoids talking about what's happened there in the past, and something in that house has terrified the 2 men in the families since they were boys, and it continues to haunt them. Whatever may be lurking there may be the reason for several terrible and unexplainable deaths. As old tensions, buried memories, and unspoken fears resurface, the oppressive atmosphere around the houses grows increasingly unsettling. I'm excited to get into this book because it is a good twist on the quote-unquote beach read. So this will be a fun one if you're going to the beach this summer and you want to read something creepy while you're getting a suntan. Also, when it comes to people's fears in regards to the beach, people will often say that they're scared of the ocean or the water and what's in the ocean, but this book will make you fear what's inhabiting the houses along that beach coast. Also, this book fascinated me because my family and I would always go to the beach every summer. It was our family summer vacation destination that we'd always go to for us to just relax and chill out, but it does not seem the case for these 2 families in this book. This next book on our summer reading list is a national bestseller, and it is The Ruins by Scott Smith. A group of young tourists on vacation in Mexico decides to help a fellow traveler search for his missing brother, who disappeared near a remote archaeological site. What is supposed to be a quick and helpful endeavor, it quickly turns into a nightmare when they arrive at an isolated hill covered in strange vines. Soon, they are trapped, cut off from civilization, and forced to confront a threat that is unlike anything they expected. The novel becomes less about escaping and more about how fear, desperation, and isolation affect people when every decision has consequences. I think after reading this book, it'll make me scared going and traveling to a tropical destination. And the most creepiest thing about this book is that it takes place in ancient ruins, which I've already had my own fears about that, but now this is definitely gonna make it worse. because I do want to go to ancient ruins and stuff like that, but I don't know, there's just something so creepy about it. One of my coworkers has actually been to ancient ruins, I think in Mexico, and he said it was one of the most terrifying experiences he ever had because the ruins were surrounded by dense forests and like you couldn't see into the forest at all. Plus he said there was just like a weird vibe to the place and everything, so I'm just like, okay, just feeding into the fear of going to ruins at all. But again, I like history, so it's just something I'm gonna have to get over if I do. Also, this book seems like it starts in very high spirits. I mean, these people are on vacation, they're making friends, traveling around, having fun, and then all of a sudden, everything just takes a turn. And the last thing that you want to happen is something bad happen on vacation. So what you can expect from this book is obviously survival horror, constant tension. Once the story gets going, the sense of dread rarely lets up. Then there's graphic gore and body horror. So there is a medical trauma and self-inflicted injuries, infection, and physical deterioration in this book. And watching the characters' mental states unravel is just as disturbing as the physical danger. So I know this is gonna bother me when it comes to vacationing somewhere tropical or where there's ruins around. Quick break sesh. Okay, this next book is responsible for scaring the hell out of Stephen King himself and is a horror book talk sensation, and that is The Troop by Nick Cutter. This book is supposed to be one of the most disturbing modern horror books of its time, and it's also a book that you can't put down despite the horror that goes on in this book. A Boy Scout troop heads to a small isolated island in the Canadian wilderness for their annual camping trip with their scoutmaster. It's a tradition as comforting and reliable as a good ghost story around a campfire, but their weekend takes a terrifying turn when a gaunt, disturbingly pale, and ferociously hungry stranger stumbles onto their campsite. Soon, the boys realize that they're cut off from the mainland and facing a nightmare that grows more dangerous by the hour. The stranger is a carrier of a bioengineered nightmare and is a horror that spreads faster than fear. It's a harrowing struggle for survival with no escape from the elements, the infected, or one another. That is horrifying to say the least. Okay, so I feel like this book will definitely make you second guess any camping trips that you'll take in the future. The woods are already something that's so scary to me. I know here in America, Appalachian Mountains is such a hot topic of discussion when it comes to haunted forests. And also, if you were a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, I think this will make you look back on those days not so fondly. Also because you're gonna think, wow, there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong, or this could have been our worst nightmare if it were to happen in real life. So I'm sure this book will not make me have any regrets about not being a Girl Scout. I'll just say that. Also, from what it seems like, this book is giving nods to Resident Evil. So if a camping trip in the Appalachian Mountains and Resident Evil had a baby, this would be that book. Because since this book is giving hints that this weird, odd person that stumbled onto their camp was bioengineered, and there's like elements of that in this book, I don't know, it's just giving it Resident Evil to me. And I'm interested to see if we get a backstory on like how that happens and where this person comes from. Plus, disease and infection just make my skin crawl, especially like out in the forest. One of the common things that you need to look out for is infection and disease, like if you get a cut or you eat something bad. So there's just a lot of real world elements when it comes to fear, and also obviously some fiction elements as well. The last thing you want to happen on a camping trip is finding yourself in a situation that you can't get out of. So their situation just sounds totally horrifying. So if you're wanting to add this to your summer reading list, here is what to expect. So there's survival horror, medical and scientific horror, disease and infection, fast rising tension, extremely graphic body horror, psychological horror, and there is a content warning with this one. There is some animal cruelty, so if you don't want to read about that, then I would just skip this one. If you think we're done with vacation horror, you're sadly mistaken, because we're heading to an all-exclusive resort, baby. It's time for room service, being poolside, but that's until weird stuff starts to happen and people start to disappear. And that's The Resort by Bentley Little. The Thurman family books a relaxing getaway at the Rita, an upscale resort tucked away in the Arizona desert. At first, everything seems luxurious. It's the kind of destination that promises total relaxation, beautiful scenery, attentive staff, endless amenities, and an escape from everyday life. But little things begin to feel off. The staff behave strangely, as though they're following rules no normal resort would have. Guests start acting strangely, bizarre events happen around the property, and guests begin disappearing. Certain areas of the property feel off limits for reasons no one can explain. Rumors circulate about people who checked in but were never seen leaving. The deeper the family explores the sprawling resort, the more they realize that what seems like a luxury getaway is hiding something ancient, disturbing, and impossible to understand. Cut off from the outside world, the family realizes that the resort has a dark secret lurking beneath its polished exterior. Bentley Little is known for taking everyday places, a resort, a neighborhood, a store, and twisting them into something deeply unsettling. His stories often feel like nightmares where the rules of reality slowly stop making sense. So yeah, this book is giving vacation horror at its finest. This is also reminding me of the show White Lotus and The Burrows. That show just came out on Netflix, I think like 2 months ago. So yeah, it's like if The Burrows and The White Lotus had a baby, I feel like the resort would be the result of that. Also, there's something so isolating about being in the desert. I personally have not vacationed in the desert, but it's giving like The Hills Have Eyes, and that's what kind of makes me scared of the desert because of that movie. So this book would be great if you're going to a resort yourself this summer and you want to give yourself the creeps and just make yourself unsettled the whole time you're there. So if you decide to pick up this book, here's what to expect in the overall themes of this book. So it's a creepy resort setting, a desert isolation, constant feeling that something isn't right. There's supernatural horror, weird, surreal moments. There is some gore as well, but not nearly as much as The Troop, the one that we talked about before. And it's a bit dark, but there's also bizarre humor, whether it's intentional or not. So the next book on our reading list could be put in the same category as The Elementals due to the haunted house kind of theme that they both have, and also because of the interesting family dynamics. And this is going to be Diavola by Jennifer Thorne. This book is about Anna Pace, and she has one rule whenever her family takes their annual vacation, and it's to keep your head down and just to survive the week. She always has been considered the black sheep of the family, and no matter what she says or does, she's often blamed, dismissed, or made to feel like the difficult one. So when her parents rent a beautiful centuries-old villa in the Tuscan countryside for a family vacation, Anna braces herself for another exhausting week of walking on eggshells. The villa is breathtaking. There's rolling hills, old stone walls, gorgeous views, and the promise of an idyllic Italian escape. But from the moment they arrive, Anna senses something deeply is wrong. The locals seem uneasy whenever the villa is mentioned. There's strange noises that echo through the halls at night, and rooms feel unnaturally cold. Family members begin acting even more irrationally than usual, and unsettling events become harder to explain away as coincidence. The more time they spend in the villa, the more the vacation spirals into something sinister. Anna is caught between trying to survive her dysfunctional family and figuring out whether the house itself is responsible for what's happening, or whether something even darker is at work. The novel slowly transforms from an uncomfortable family vacation into a chilling gothic ghost story where emotional manipulation and supernatural terror feed off one another. So yeah, I think everybody can relate when it comes to enduring your family on family vacations. It's a common trope in like the holiday season where somebody goes home and they just have like this crazy family dynamic. It's about them surviving that holiday, and it's always like a bit chaotic, and I feel like this takes that concept and flips it on its head. Also, this is just a common trope of the parents not believing a child when there's something weird going on and there's clearly something wrong about wherever they're staying. Or it's like the husband not believing the wife and the wife's like, no, something's wrong, and he's like,
gosh, babe, stop overreacting, it's nothing,
when there's really something going on. But this is gonna be cool because I've never explored these themes in a book before. It's always been through watching a movie or a TV show. So we're really able to dive deep and like sit with that eerie feeling while reading, and we're able to get more details about it as well. Also, I think this digs deeper into like a modern day horror story, like where people go and stay at an Airbnb or like Airbnb a house out and they're like, where the hell am I staying? And it's like if you find a hidden door and unlock it and you're like, where the hell does this lead to? This is giving like barbarian vibes, but of course like haunted house supernatural, instead of like this supernatural person that lives in the tunnels and like it's a real person. It's not like a ghost or something. And villas are supposed to be fun, so maybe this family should have stayed at the Vanderpump Villa instead of this villa, if you know what I mean. So what to expect, the overall themes of this book. So this is an ancient Italian villa, duh. There's local legends, supernatural activity, of course, toxic family dynamics, can never get enough of that, and feeling like the house has been waiting for someone. So I am super excited to get into this book. Okay, last but definitely not least is The Summer of Night by Dan Simmons, and this is a bit of a thicker one. And I plan on reading this in August, where the summer days are long and hot, and this will be a perfect way to end the summer reading list. So we're gonna be wrapping up the summer with a bit of a hometown horror story. So if you've read It by Stephen King or seen the movies, this will be a good book to read if you want something new and fresh. It has a lot of the same tropes, and Stephen King even said that this is one of the most rare must-read books as well. It has a lot of scares, suspense, and a bunch of nostalgia, kind of like It. And once I read the summary of this book, you're definitely gonna see a lot of similarities, so let's go ahead and read it. It's the summer of 1960 in the quiet Midwestern town of Elm Haven, Illinois. Elm, I'm seeing what you're doing there, Dan, okay? So the school has just let out, and a close-knit group of preteen friends is ready to spend the summer riding bikes, exploring the woods, playing baseball, and enjoying the freedom that only childhood summers can bring. But on the last day of school, something unsettling happens. A classmate disappears under a mysterious circumstance, and the adults either don't seem to notice or refuse to acknowledge that anything is wrong. Soon, the boys begin experiencing strange events all over town, odd figures appearing where they shouldn't, disturbing noises, unsettling encounters, and an overwhelming feeling that something ancient has awakened beneath the familiar streets of Elm Haven. As they investigate, they realize the strange occurrences are all connected to the town's old elementary school, a crumbling building with a long, dark history. The deeper they dig, the more they discover that the evil they're facing has been hiding in Elm Haven for far longer than anyone realizes. What begins as a nostalgic coming-of-age story slowly transforms into an epic battle between childhood innocence and an ancient supernatural force. So yeah, definitely a lot of similarities when it comes to It, but I mean, this book is a lot shorter than It, so if you want to read something similar but not so long, this would be a good choice. Because the town is named Elm Haven, it's giving like Nightmare on Elm Street. So if Nightmare on Elm Street and The Evil Dead had a baby, I feel like this is what this book is gonna be about. I'm excited to finish the summer out with this book because this is supposed to be a nostalgic book. It just reminds me of all the days that I would spend every summer playing outside with my next door neighbor. We were like this back in the day, and I just look fondly back on those memories. We would play on the trampoline, ride bikes, play in the pool. And I think it would be nice to read a book where it takes you back to those fond memories, because I just feel like kids are not doing that these days. I don't see kids playing outside, and I think this would be just such a good book to have all those fuzzy feelings come back, but of course have that horror element to it. Also, the boys in these books are 12, and I know when I was 12, I was like so scared of everything. Like the only thing I would read is Goosebumps, and even that freaked me out. but I was not watching any scary movies. If anything scary was going on, I would scream my head off and run away. So I can't believe what this like terrifying nightmare these boys are about to face and how they're gonna overcome it. It just makes you think and question what you would do if you were 12 and you're discovering something dark and evil in your town. Okay, those are all the books on my summer horror reading list that I'll be getting into. I'm so excited. Let me know if you've read any of these books or you plan on reading any of these books after watching this video. Drop your opinions, your comments, just no spoilers. Also, I need to finish my drink, so watch me do that real quick. I can't chug, I'm not a chugger, but I'll finish it. Also, let me know what you're doing this summer. Are you going on a resort, a camping trip, you know, family vacation, a villa? Let me know. And hopefully nothing bad will happen. Hopefully everything just stays in these books and there isn't real nightmares out there. But yeah, I will go ahead and see you in the next one.